Keys to Successful Agile Teams. It's a series that we're doing, and today's topic is emotional intelligence. Our speaker tonight is Ankar Gupta. I've known Ankar for what? How long? What? I don't know, 2 years, 3 years, something like that. I don't know. It feels like forever. But he is a DevOps manager at Sun Life Financial. He started his career with waterfall projects, and then he made the great switch, and I'm calling it the great switch because obviously he woke up and moved over to the Agile side with IT and banking clients more recently. He's been with the Agile business for 8+ years, managing and guiding several teams. In addition to coaching his teams, he spearheaded the creation of the Scrum Master community of practice at Sun Life. He's been instrumental in providing training via Agile 101 and Scrum introductory training sessions within that organization. He's a certified Agile professional, and he holds the Scrum Master PO certifications like the PSM, CSM, PMI, ACP, PS, PO, so on and so forth. And what's your newest one now? Cloud AWS, like
Yeah, cloud practitioner from AWS, yes.
there you go. So if you stitch all of his certifications together, he can make a quilt. That's what he's trying to say. But despite all of that, his big thing is that he's always learning. There's never anything that is perfection for him. There's always a challenge within him to do better and to be better. Now, if you want to catch Ankar, you can probably find him at Walmart buying groceries or exercising and walking within Mississauga when it's not snowing outside of work. And with that being said, I'm going to kick it off to an illustrious guest speaker, and we're going to have some fun tonight. So take it away, Ankar.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for that warm welcome. And hello, everyone. Good evening to you. Good morning if you're in a different time zone. So this happens to me often when I'm talking to people in the morning, close to 11 a.m. I go about, hey, good afternoon. And then I realize it's still morning. So people make fun of me to say, you're working in 2 time zones, I guess. I don't know, but that just happens. All right, welcome everybody. So today's topic is emotional intelligence and how can that help, the way we work in our agile way of working. Just give me 2 seconds. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get started. Okay. Okay. Let me go in presentation mode here. Perfect. You guys see my presentation mode? You guys see my screen? You see my face? Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Andrea. All right. So building successful agile teams with emotional intelligence. You know what emotional intelligence is? It's the brain and the heart that go together. That is what it is, really. So brain and heart going together. That's what it is. All right. Before we get into emotional intelligence, what it is, and why we're talking about it today, and how can it help improve the way we are working in the agile ways in our agile setup, whether you're Scrum, Kanban, or whatever framework you're following. I want to discuss what are emotions. So as you can see on the slide, it says emotions are reactions that human beings experience in response to events or situations. For example, if I'm waiting in the line for very long at Service Ontario, this was before the COVID, pre-COVID days, it would take like an hour for me in Mississauga to kind of get in just to get the number. And there would be times when they would come out and give me a chit that's got some number on it and says, hey, come back tomorrow anytime and we'll take you on priority. It is frustrating, right? So that condition of waiting in line for a long period of time and not getting service, it brings about this feeling of anger and frustration. There are other examples. Let's say if I go to a massage therapist and I get a nice massage, I feel relaxed, right? That's the feeling, that's the emotion that I'm experiencing. Same way, if you're having a one-on-one with your first line manager and you get good feedback, you feel happy. That's another emotion, and you feel motivated to do better, to do more, because you feel, hey, my work and my efforts are being acknowledged and appreciated. So these, what I'm trying to say is there are triggers and there's state of conditions, and then triggers that trigger your emotions. Before we get into why emotions are so important, I just want to understand what are your top three, and this is for all my participants. What are your top three emotions that you experience on a regular basis? You can put your answer in chat, or you can just, um, unmute yourself and shout your answers.
For me, anxiety. Okay, it's not in order, but anxiety at times, probably because I just started a new job, and sometimes you can get to a point where you might have a little bit of imposter syndrome at times. Sorry, Ankar, that your Zoom thing is in the middle of your presentation.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Let
Probably
me.
want to just move it to the side or something.
Okay.
Aside from that, definitely happiness and peacefulness, and I don't know, joy. I like to start the day off with music that I like, so I like to start my day off with joy.
Okay. Nice. Anyone else?
I have
Happiness. Yeah.
I don't feel this one as much as I should, if that makes any sense, and that's uncertainty.
Uncertainty.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's something that we kind of block ourselves from feeling because we're
Yeah.
so used to having that comfort. But I think uncertainty is a feeling or an emotion that we should try to feel more often. I've just been in this
Yeah. No, that's good.
on this journey, so that's
Yeah. That's
that's
good.
an
That's good.
emotion that I think I want to feel more often and not shy
Hmm.
away.
Yep, that's good. Anyone else? Any their top three emotions? Not sure if somebody put something in chat. No?
None.
Okay, well, I'm gonna tell you what I feel. So um, I feel anxious too. Sometimes we have to navigate through the confusion, through this cloud of uncertainty and so much confusion, and then sometimes the expectation from me is in my current role is that I have to provide people more comfort and project confidence that they can rely on me if they have issues. They can come to me, and I tell them, okay, in this cloud, you go and follow, go straight to the right, and that's where you find shelter. So sometimes I have to provide that kind of navigation and clarity to people when I myself am not sure how to navigate myself. So sometimes that feeling of uncertainty, I guess, or anxiousness is something that I feel often in my current role. The other thing I feel is when I am working with people who are doing great and who do really well. If, for example, they're doing something and they get appreciated by their partner teams or by clients, I feel happy for them. I feel happy within me for them. So that's another emotion that I feel on a day-to-day basis. And then I feel frustrated when I get escalations that I have to deal with. It's just, I'd rather spend more time with people who are doing really well versus dealing with escalations, just trying to understand what went wrong and how what was the cause of it and how we can prevent it, doing an RCA, which is important. But that's what I feel, just being honest and open about my top three emotions. Anyone else like to share? I'm not sure if we have something in the chat. Let me take a quick look. Okay. Okay, love, fear, happiness. Oh, that's good. Peace, that's fantastic. Right, so that, and then we've got.
Yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
Ankar, I think you have the chat, but it's blocking. There you go.
All right. Yeah. So that's good. You're all feeling emotions, so that means that I'm talking to people behind the screen, which is fantastic, and not robots. Why, why do you think these emotions are important, though? Like, I know we have something on the slides and content, but what do you think? Do you think it's important to feel these emotions, or should we just block them? What is your opinion, guys?
I think it's important to feel them in a healthy way, or else, again, you'll have the Rock, Will Smith moment where you just explode and you're all passive aggressive about what's really boiling inside.
Right. You're bottling up all your emotions and then it goes like boom, right? It explodes. True. What about others? So you guys think it's important to exhibit emotions, to show emotions, or just keep them contained and be motionless? We got a chatty bunch today.
I think
I think,
I think it's better to talk about it, like say it, I know sometimes it's not always the best in the heat of the moment, but sometimes it's also good. Like for me, for example, like when I'm upset, once I say it, that's it. Like I'm done. Like next tomorrow, I'm like, hi, how are you? Then keeping it all in. It's helpful.
True. Yeah, I've experienced that too. Thanks. So I heard one more voice. Was that you, Mo, or was it someone else? I don't know whoever it was, but go ahead.
Sorry, I'm talking on mute.
Okay.
I think if we don't have emotions in our daily lives, I think it just makes life kind of bland and just mundane. I think emotions give us how we're different from like animals and robots, like you just kind of alluded to, right, and joked about. Emotions are what makes us different as a species.
True, very true. Anyone else? Okay, it's very true. I agree with all of you, and this is my personal opinion that if there is no emotion, then our landscape is, then our area is just flat, right? But when you have emotions, it's like we have peaks, we have valleys, we've got rivers flowing. It's uneven. It's got all the naturalness to it. You are being real. If you are not exhibiting emotions, I think you're not a real person, or there's something wrong with you. That's just my opinion. And emotions are very important because emotions, like most of you said, if I'm feeling something, I just share it out loud, and that's the end of it. I feel better by doing so, which is good because you don't want to bottle up your emotions or block your emotions or shy away from them or just keep them hidden. That's not what emotional intelligence is about. It's actually about learning from your emotions. We're going to get into it in a bit, but before we do that, so you guys know what emotions is. That's fantastic. I'm not talking to robots, I'm talking to human beings, so that's good. And why they're so important is because whether you like it or not, emotions play a big role when you're trying to be in any decision making. When you're presented with choices or options, emotions play a big role in terms of guiding you which options you pick over others. For example, I have a favorite brand of milk. It's called Matro. I go with 1%. I don't like 2% because it's got more fat in it. 3.5%, forget it. 0% is just too thin. So that's my emotion, because when I drink that milk or when I make tea out of it, the Indian tea, I just I find that 1% is to my taste. So I like that. So that taste when I'm making tea or drinking that milk gives me a good feeling, gives me satisfaction, and that's sort of feeling I get when I drink 1% milk. So that is my choice of milk when I go and buy groceries from Walmart. So emotions play a big role when it comes to making decisions. They're kind of helping you guide your decisions. Another thing that makes you that helps you make decisions is logic. But believe me, this is science, and I'm not making this up. Emotions play a bigger role than logic. You'll be surprised. And I'm gonna talk to you about the TFAR system and the thinking models that was presented by Daniel. I'm forgetting his last name. I have it on the slide. He was given a Nobel Prize in 2002. He has a famous book called Think Fast and Think Slow. I'm gonna show that to you in a second. I think we've got something equilibrium. Okay, what's that, Andrea? That Christian
so
Bale
neat,
movie.
right? So I was asking, is
Okay.
that the movie?
I don't know. Is that the movie Equilibrium? We're trying to.
Yep. I agree.
Okay.
It was
All
the
right.
movie.
All right. Cool. Right. So let's go to the next slide. All right. So according to Daniel, I hope I don't butcher his last name, Kahneman, who won the Nobel Prize in 2002, he says there are two kind of thinking models. The first one is think fast. It's more reactive. It's automatic. It's your basic instincts kicking in. For example, if I am walking and I see a snake in front of me, a garden snake, I'll just jump and I'll go back. I'm not thinking at that time. That's just my reaction. My brain is hardwired to see when I see a threat, that is my instant reaction to it. I'm not thinking at all. But then there are certain things where I'm thinking. It's mentally draining me because I have to think about the choice that I make. For example, what would be a good funny example is when your girlfriend or wife asks you to let's go and eat from outside, right? Let's go and eat out, and then you're like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's do that. But then where do you want to go? and then your wife or your girlfriend says, well, you pick a place. We all know that's a trap, right? Because if you pick the wrong place, it's going to come up eventually in one of the arguments that, hey, you know I don't like Italian food, but you still took me to an Italian restaurant and I didn't say anything about it. Or maybe you're thinking about McDonald's and you say, okay, let's go and get some burgers at McDonald's, and then later on you regret it, because then your better half will say, well, you're a cheap person because eating out for you means McDonald's. So you really got to think. I got to make a safe choice, right? So what you're doing is essentially it's draining you mentally. You're thinking about it. What option should I pick? So that is think slow model, where you are actually putting your mind to work to pick your choice. Now, consider this example. If you are trying to buy a car and you go to a car dealership, and the car salesperson comes to you and greets you, and they're dressed up nice and well, you're happy. It's like, hey, yes, I need a car. It's like, all right. If the first question they ask you, what is your budget, how would it make you feel? This is an open-ended question to my audience. If you're trying to buy a car and you're just there to browse through and understand which car you want to buy, and the car salesperson, the first question that comes out of that person's mouth is, what's your budget? What would go in your mind?
They're more concerned about my money.
True, right? So yeah, that's true. Like, hey, that's a
or they're trying to pre-qualify me to see if they should even serve me.
right. That's true. So you're thinking and analyzing maybe that this is not a risk. This is a risky situation. Maybe you don't want to get carry forward with that transaction or carry forward with that experience. You maybe want to end it and go back. That could be one option. What else, guys? What do you think is going on if you go to a car salesperson and that's the first question that comes out of from their mouth after exchanging pleasantries is, what's your budget? What do you think? What would be your response? There's no right or wrong answer. It's just a response.
Probably give him a range.
Oh, you're gonna give him. Okay. Would you think about the range though, or you just throw some random range at him or her?
Yeah, just run. Well, it depends on why I went to the dealership. Because maybe I had something in mind, so I just toss out a range.
Right. Anyone else?
I think being an old car salesman, it's not the first question to ask, but I feel funny answering that because you kind of prejudge the person. And that is one business where you do not judge anybody, because somebody can walk in there with flip-flops and you check their bank account, they have 40 million and they're sitting there not doing anything with it. So, and having the fact that I sold Porsches and Lamborghinis and Ferraris, that is where you do not judge anybody at all. So you just give every person the same treatment because you do not know who they are. So, but if you ask me that, being a car salesman, I'm going to get mad and I'm going to walk out.
Exactly. That is so true. And same here. I think the same. Anyone else would like to share their what would their response be? If not, then I'll tell you.
For me, if someone asks me what's my budget, I'm gonna ask again and be like, what do you have? Or like, what's your range? So like, then I can now determine if it's within my budget for me to tell you what my budget is.
Right. So, and here's how I'm looking at it, right? If somebody comes in, if I'm trying to buy a car, which I did like in 2020, and if they ask me the same question that, what's your budget? I would personally feel a bit offended. Like, why do you want to know my budget? Like, why you don't even want to know what kind of car I want to buy or what's my need for buying a car? Maybe I want to drive to work. I need a nice, comfortable car that's that's a good quality car that I can drive to work and come back. Or maybe I need a bigger car, like a van or something that I can fit my family members. So without even trying to address my need, you're just asking something. So this person is And now imagine if instead of asking this question, this person says, "Hey, how can I help you? What are you looking for? Is there anything I can help you with?" What would your response be more positive? Would you share more with this person, or would you still think, let me just cut this conversation and just head out?
No, although the budget would always come in after the pleasantries, after you've gone through what are you looking for? What is it that you need a car for? What car are you trying to buy? What need, just like you said, do you need a bigger car for a family, or you just want a sporty car for you and the wifey? So it's when you start talking about that, and then they're asking for a car that is about 150,000, and then they're telling you, oh, this and that and that, and you not give them those options, and they keep going back, then you'll be like, okay, what budget do you want to stay in? What payment do you want to stay in? What do you don't want to go beyond? Then those questions come. But if you ask that question the first time, it kind of puts people off. So you want to first know what their needs are, ask them what they're looking for. I mean, just dig into why they're there. You just want to ask those questions that elicit them to be able to actually be able to tell you. Some people actually know what they're looking for, but they also want you to be able to show them something else. Most people who come, and just like you said, 90% of people who come to buy cars don't just walk into a dealership without knowing what they want to buy. Most people have already researched what they're looking for, have gone to the internet, have checked on prices, have weighed 2-3 prices, and then they come there with that information, just waiting for you to tell them a lie, and they flip.
So true. And I'm so glad you said that. So it's funny how asking that question as the first question versus asking that question, say sometime later in the conversation, generates two different results. The first one is you're put off and like, all right, you know what, I'm done. That is a stupid question to ask at the first go without even trying to understand what I need, what I'm here for. And asking that same question later in the conversation, you're more open and you're more positive about, sharing those details with them. So the reason I asked this question is because I wanted to understand how would you react in the first case or the second case. Now, this reaction that you are the results, let's call it the reaction that you're exhibiting, is based on the feelings that you have, and these feelings are actually being triggered by the conversation that, by the thoughts or the triggers that happen. So hence the TPAR system: triggers, thoughts. If you have positive thoughts and negative thoughts, it triggers positive feelings and negative feelings. If you have positive feelings, the actions you perform will generate good results. If you have negative feelings, the actions you perform would be generating negative results. For example, here in our car salesman example, if this question, the budget question, was asked for the first time, you have a negative connotation to the salesman, even though you don't know that person, but you're like, that is a very weird question to ask. And because that negative feeling is there in your head, you may feel judged, or you may not feel comfortable. The action that comes out of it is, you know what, I think it's good. Let me go to some other dealership, or let me just go back and do my research, or let me just get out of here. Like, I'm not in a position to talk to this guy right now. So that results in you not buying a car, even though you wanted to buy a car. And now in the second option, where you're feeling positive, you've exchanged some words, you've expressed your need, and the salesperson has given you some options, and he's trying to help you more. You're more comfortable with it. With him asking that question, you're feeling good, and you're more than happy to provide him with a range that I don't have a fixed budget, but I can give you a range that I think I can afford. That results in a positive, that generates positive results, where you get some options for the cars that you could potentially buy that fit in your budget and that kind of serve your need. So this is science, folks. This is not me making this up. That feelings and emotions play a big role in decision making. I just wanted to prove that to you, that how big of a role can emotions play. So it's very important that when you are talking to others, in an organization or at work, or at work or at office, or even in your personal at home, the feelings that get generated, if they're positive or negative, within you would dictate your actions and your results that may have impact on others. Same way, the feelings that will get generated by your interaction in other people's mind will generate in positive or negative actions and results that you will see that may or may not fit the outcome or the goal that you wanted to achieve. So this was an interesting system that I saw, that the experts in human behavior talked about, and I thought, let me bring emotions, let me bring why emotions are important, and let me bring the CFAR system, and that how emotions play, how big of a role does emotions play in making decisions. Now let's jump into emotional intelligence. Now that we've discussed all that, so emotional intelligence is also called emotional quotient. So there's intelligence, there's IQ, intelligence quotient. So like maybe your technical, how well do you code, or how or how well can you manage something that could be part of your intelligence. IQ, intelligence. Maybe you're Spanish fluent. That is because of your IQ. You can increase your IQ by practicing something, and you can get better at it. But emotional intelligence is very different. It's the art or the science of dealing with people. It has to do with empathy. It has to do with your soft skills. You can have a person that has a very high IQ in the organization, that's so good at technical stuff, but that person, if you put that person in a manager or in a leader position, they will fail miserably because they do not have the EQ, assuming that they don't have a high EQ. So EQ is the science of how you deal with people, how you motivate others, how you manage your own emotions, how you control your own emotions, and how you identify emotions that other people are going through, how you leverage those emotions to kind of achieve the goals and outcomes that you want to achieve. So that's all emotional intelligence. It's learning from your emotions, and it's got 5 pillars to it. We'll get into it. But the definition of emotional intelligence is to ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, collaborate better with others, and get better at conflict management and overcome challenges. Achieve your goals. Now, having said that, do you guys know? Do you think emotional intelligence has to do with being emotional? Do you think that's what it is? What is your take on emotional intelligence? Anyone?
That's actually a good question. I mean, I think emotional intelligence is really about how you manage the emotions, not necessarily just the emotions themselves.
True.
I think we all
Very
have
true.
like levels of emotional intelligence as well. And I think that comes out apparent in persons' personalities. I think like when we kind of kicked this meeting off, we kind of know that, for us that knows Andrea, she's pretty high in terms of emotional intelligence. And there's someone like me, for example, who maybe is not as high on the scale. But I think that comes off on personalities and then how we communicate, or how people communicate with you, how you work with your team and team members. So I think it's a quality and a personality that we kind of see in folks and people that we work with and interact with pretty regularly, or not, probably, right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes it could just come out very apparent right on your first meet with somebody, right? Then if
Very true.
On first impressions.
Yep, very true. Yeah, I've got some examples from my personal experience that I would share. But yeah, anyone else? And what's the take on emotional intelligence? Does it mean being emotional, or what do you guys think? Being emotional is part of emotional intelligence.
Okay. Sorry, can you say that one again? Can you say that? Repeat that question.
Yeah. Do you guys think emotional intelligence has to do with being emotional?
No.
Or emotional behavior. So maybe I feel very happy. I see that somebody in my team did something really well and they get appreciated for it. And I feel really happy for them because I helped them, in some way to kind of be able to do that. So I feel really happy for them that they've achieved something. Do you think that happiness is emotional, has to do with emotional intelligence, do you think?
No, I don't think so. But the person that appreciates the person that did something, that person has emotional intelligence. So when you
Very true.
Somebody, like you in your example, when you reward someone who did something well or that needs that pat on the back, if something, if you recognize that, this associate or this colleague needs a pat on the back to be recognized, that person has emotional intelligence.
That is very true. That is very true, Mo. That is one of the characteristics of highly emotional, intelligent people, that they're not sitting in the spotlight or not there to promote themselves to say, well, the credit goes to me because this is what I did. Rather, they're more supportive. They're trying to push, their coworkers or push other people in the limelight to get them the credit they deserve. So, well said. Right. So that is that is true. Being emotional is not emotional intelligence. Exhibiting emotional behavior has nothing to do with emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is more so where you're trying to understand the emotions you're going through. You identify those emotions. You see if those emotions are going to help you achieve your goals or your outcomes, and you control those emotions. If not, then you control those emotions or leverage those emotions. Separate your emotions from your actions. Make sure that the actions that you do or the words, things that you say, those are not governed by the emotions that's going on in your head, the emotions that you're feeling. Those So that is emotional intelligence, being able to, so I'm going to get into it. Power of emotional intelligence. So these are some of the benefits that emotional intelligence offers. If you have an agile team that is really high, well, they are emotionally connected or they're the same level of emotional intelligence, they're a well-oiled machine. They work as a well-oiled machine, like a work family. But the people, let's assume there's a team that is not connected. It's most likely, even though they've received the agile training, they're the experts in their areas and whatnot. If they're not emotionally connecting with each other, if they're not the same level, there won't be a well-oiled machine. The velocity of those teams will be very different from that of a well-oiled machine. So in order to boost the performance, or in order to boost the collaboration, or to increase the level of engagement these teams have within and outside, emotional intelligence can help. So emotional intelligence will guide them to frame their responses, or to control the way they interact with each other and outside in a way that is more suited towards achieving the goal or the targets, the outcomes that they have set before. And I'm going to give an example about this in a second. But before I do that, any questions, guys, on emotional intelligence or how it could be?
We're good.
No. Okay. All right. So pillars of emotional intelligence. So emotional, like I said before, emotional intelligence is not about bottling up your emotions or hiding them or not showing it to people. It's more so about learning from your emotions. So the first pillar is self-awareness. Now, imagine a situation that I have done some work and I present that work to my manager. My manager reviews it and he says, "Well, Ankur, this work is I like what you've done, but I still feel there's a lot of improvement that needs to happen." How do you think I'll feel at that time, at that very moment? How would that make me feel? That I put in so much effort, and my manager says, there's still a lot of problems with the work that I've produced. I will feel demotivated. I will feel maybe I'll feel a little bit of depression that, maybe my efforts and my dedication or devotion, or there's no acknowledgement to the work that I've done. Rather, there's only criticism that I'm getting. I will feel a little bit of demotivated. I will feel depression and demotivated. So that's my feeling. Now, having that feeling, what would that result into? Maybe the next task that I do, I may not do that very well. If I'm driving, I may get into an accident because I'm feeling low at that time. So it's very important. Step one is to make sure you understand what emotions you are feeling. Making sure the feelings that you are feeling, you're able to connect that to the situation. Why are you feeling what you're feeling? I got some negative feedback and I feel bad about it. I'm depressed. Great, recognize that. Don't react because you're depressed. Don't get into a car accident, or because you're depressed, don't think that you're worthless. Don't feel depressed. Don't go into that depression cycle. So it's very important. Step one is self-awareness. Make sure you are able to identify the feelings that what you're feeling, the emotions that you're going through. Step two is, once you understand what emotions you're going through, you control the reactions that would be normally coming out of coming because you're feeling those emotions. For example, if I am hungry, okay, and my manager asked me to work on on a deliverable, and I even skip my lunch break, and now I'm working on it. It's 4:30 and I present the work again. Manager says, well, this is not good. We still need to do a lot of changes to this presentation, as an example. So I'm hungry, and whatever work I've done is low quality work. Apparently, that's what I've been told, and I need to make changes. I might get angry because of that. It's like, you know what? There's no point working with you because I didn't even go on a lunch break, and I was doing this to meet our deadline. And in return, what I get is the work that I've produced is basically crap. And I might lash out. Now that is the action that is created, that I exhibit when I'm feeling hurt, when I'm hungry, when I'm angry because I didn't eat and I got negative feedback. Do you think that's a good move? Do you think, if you lash out to your manager, do you think that's a good? I think that's a career limiting move, in my opinion.
Career limiting
move. Will Smith knows for sure.
Right. So the second pillar, the self-management or self-control, talks about this, that no matter what feelings, the emotions that you're feeling, do not let those emotions jeopardize the rational thinking, or don't let those emotions dictate some actions that you will regret in life. So that is what it's trying to teach you. So step one, identify what you're feeling. I am tired. It's 7 p.m. It's 8 p.m. right now. I am tired. I want to have food. I want to have my dinner. Okay, that's good. I can see that you're hungry, you're tired. That's the state of your body, and you feel exhausted, and you feel, you don't have no energy left. So maybe I want to wrap this conversation quickly. But if I do that, what is the action? Maybe it might look like I am not interested in this presentation, or I'm not interested in talking to you guys. That's not what I meant. But that is what would be perceived by you if I follow my emotions and react by following those emotions, right? So it's very important you identify your emotions, and then you understand what you're feeling, why you're feeling, and then you make sure that the actions that you're doing is disconnected from your emotions. If you're angry at work because somebody said something to you, don't let that anger dictate your words or the next steps that you will take. Don't let that happen, because you will regret it later. Maybe it'll come back to you, and you'll think to yourself, maybe I could have done better. So that is self-control, self-management. That's a second pillar. Any questions so far, guys? Okay, silence is golden. We'll move to our third pillar, which is social awareness. So now you understand what emotions you're feeling. You can identify them, and the moment you identify, oh no, I'm getting mad, I'm getting angry. I should not make any decision because I'm mad and angry. So you're practicing self-control. The next step in emotional intelligence is social awareness, or practicing empathy, which means that now you're trying to understand the emotions that other people are feeling. Picking up on the emotional cues. For example, if you're talking to someone and they had a bad day, for whatever reason, being able to identify why are they feeling. They are depressed, they're tired, or maybe they're super happy because they got into a really nice college. They applied to a university and they got in. So reading their emotions and understanding if they're happy, or if they're sad, whatever that emotion is an important part, is a more important aspect of how you will how your actions or interactions will be with that person. If somebody is sad, you don't want to approach them and talk about some important stuff. Maybe you want to talk to them if they are not tired and not sad, and they are mentally 100% available to you. Maybe if that's not the case, then you don't want to discuss something important with them. So that's our third pillar, which is social awareness. Before I talk about the fourth one, which is relationship management, do you guys understand what is empathy?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. Mo, what do you think is empathy in your words?
When you can put yourself into another person's shoes to understand what they're feeling at a certain moment.
Yeah, very true. And it's very different from sympathy, right? Sympathy is you offering words of comfort to somebody and understanding their position from your perspective. Whereas empathy is feeling what they are feeling what they're going through, the challenges, the problems. But like you said, putting them, putting yourself in others' shoes is empathy. I've got a really nice video that I'd like to play about empathy and sympathy. So I'm gonna play that for you guys. Just give me 1 second. Oops. Here.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
All right. So did you guys like that short video?
That's a very good video. Can you post that link? I think I need to play it for some people on my team.
Sure. I will. Well, give me a second. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to post it in our chat in a bit. Okay. Oops. Chat. Wrong window. There you go.
Awesome. Thank you.
So the reason no problem. Thanks. So the reason I wanted to share this video with you is because often I find, people in agile teams practicing more sympathy than empathy. And especially now that we are working, I think most of us are working from home. We hardly go to office. we're all disconnected. Before I could just, swing by to someone's desk and say, hi, how are you doing? Spend like 2 minutes with them just to check, what's going on in their lives. And that was a good personal touch and a good connection, a good good interaction to kind of know what's going on in, in that person's life, and also share what's going on in my life. And this has nothing to do with work, by the way. This is just me being genuinely interested in them. And you'd be surprised that the people that I had that kind of conversation with, if I had something that I needed help with, I'd kind of go and ask them. And now this is work-related help, even though we're not in the same projects, they would be more inclined to help me. They may not have time, they may not help me right away, but they would definitely get back to me. Compare this to someone that I had not talked to. I don't know, they're new, and maybe I'm not that connected with them. If I were to ask them for help, or if I were to give them, say, a ticket, hey man, can you do this for me? The response would be very cold, like, all right, I'll put it in the queue and we'll get back to you. So that is the power of practicing empathy. And emotional intelligence is built on empathy. So emotions, identifying your emotions, controlling your emotions so that they don't get the best of you, making sure that the reactions or the things you do and the words you use, that come out of your mouth are not because of the emotion you are feeling, but because of what goals you want to achieve, what outcomes you want to achieve. For example, maybe I'll talk about it in a second, that example. So the social awareness is the exact as, identifying your self emotions, but it is identifying those emotions with others. And you cannot identify those emotions if you are not connected with them. Recently, my nephew fell from, well, maybe that's not a good example. Maybe I'll give you a different one. But I'll give it to you after I cover, the fourth and fifth pillar. The fourth pillar is relationship management. So now that you know your own emotions, you control them, others' emotions, it's time to manage, the emotions, your emotions and their emotions, in a way that you guys are supportive of each other and you build good relationships. You can communicate, you can manage conflicts. Remember, one of the I guess a key characteristic of a person who is emotionally intelligent, they do not shy away from conflict. They do not shy away from difficult conversations. In fact, they love difficult conversations and conflicts. Not that they love conflict, but having those conversations because there's a conflict, because to them it is a way to understand what is the other person feeling, social awareness, and for them to support that other person, relationship management, in order to help them and build a good rapport. So if somebody is feeling sad and you go and talk to them to understand what's really going on, oh, you are feeling sad, oh no, I feel bad, tell me what's going on. Like, you're not trying to put a duct tape, oh, you're feeling sad, here's an ice cream, or here's a cup of coffee, this makes you happy. No, don't. Just talk, be genuinely interested, try to understand what they're feeling, why they're feeling, and then leverage that in a way that you support them. That is relationship management. When you start doing that, you'd be surprised that you would be moving away from managing people to leading people, from telling people what to do to motivating people in, hey, this is the vision that we want to achieve. People will follow you, people will understand the value and will start executing on that vision instead of you distributing work. I've seen that that I've had that first-hand experience in my life where I used to be more so assigning work, and now it's more so leading people. Instead of telling them what they have to work on, it's more like showing them the value of the work that we have to do and or how beneficial it is to the organization. It's a very different mindset. It's a very different game altogether. It's all about game of options and choices. The choices that you pick will achieve a result, will achieve your outcome in a certain way. So, it's all about, like I said, to get the same outcome, you have different choices. What choices you make makes a big difference. The fifth pillar is self-motivation. And this is what I was kind of, when I said outcomes, goals, and what you want to achieve, your intent, this is what it boils down to. So why are you trying to identify emotions? Why are you trying to identify emotions in others? Why are you trying to build a good relationship, with other people? Why are you trying to control yourself to make sure that you don't the best of the emotions don't get the best of you? Is because at the end of the day, you have an ambition, you have a goal, and that goal has a certain value associated with it. So you want to achieve that goal, and the only way you can achieve it is through making sure that you practice steps 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is what it is: self-motivation to help you achieve your goal. I'll give you an example now. This is something that I kind of experienced. I had a person on my team, okay, and they were doing really well, and then suddenly their numbers went down, okay, and it's been more than 3 months that that the performance was not up to the mark. So the team, the people that they were helping, the partnering team that they were helping, the delivery teams they were helping, they reached out to me and they said, well, this person is not doing so well. We're having a lot of problems with this person. Please fix this. Um, the moment they engaged me, so that was kind of a soft escalation or a heads up that, hey, we have a problem, we need a fix. Well, I listened to them and I'm like, all right, I'm going to talk to my guy and see what's going on. And I talked to this person. So my reaction, so I knew that there's a problem. I understand that they're not feeling being supported enough so that they can deliver the stuff that they have to deliver, and that may cause some issues on business side. So when I was talking to this person on my team who was helping the client team out, I didn't go to that person and say, hey man, I got an escalation for you, and they're saying that you are not you're not attending meetings, or you're not doing the work you're supposed to do, you're skipping those meetings. I did not, nothing like that. No, because that is the obvious. The person who is skipping the meetings knows that he or she is skipping the meetings. The person who is complaining coming to me definitely must have reached a certain threshold that that now they're coming to me as like, all right, we got to invoke the manager because this is getting too much. We can't absorb so much delay. Now we need everybody to lift their weight. So I didn't talk about any of that. Instead, what I did was I booked a 30-minute one-on-one just to understand how this person is doing, what's going on. And like me, just friendly guy, I'm like, hey man, how are you doing, what's going on? And I talked a little bit about my personal life and telling him what's going on my side, on my personal front and at work, in general. And then he started talking about work in general. And then he opened up to me saying that he has some problems that he's struggling with. Folks, I did not talk about any escalations. I did not talk about any performance problems with this person. I did not. I was just trying to have a casual conversation to understand how is he doing, and just showing that genuine interest to understand how is he feeling these days, how is the work going on, is there anything that I can do to help him. He opened up, he shared something with me, he or she shared something with me on the personal front, and I'd gone through something similar. I had experienced something similar on my end, and I was very sad to kind of hear what I heard. And then I shared my experience with him, not trying to patch his problem or say, the video we saw, we silver line, at least you have this or that. No, nothing like that. I explained to him, I'm very sad that you had to go through all this. And I had a similar experience, and I shared my experience. He was able to relate to that right away because he was going through something similar like that I had already experienced in the past. And at the end of that, all that, okay, we're just sharing, two guys talking to each other, telling, what happened to me and how I coped, how I managed all that to come out of all that. Sharing my story with him, and then he's sharing his story first, and then me sharing my story. At the end of the conversation all I said was this: hey man, I know you're gonna get through all this. I believe in you. I think you just need to give it some time and it will get better for you. I can tell you that. And that's all I did. I did not talk to him about his work performance. Oh, sorry, about his performance issues. I did not inquire how he or she doing with the work assignments that I given to them, to the user stories that they were working on. None of that stuff. Just connecting with them at a genuine level or at an emotional level to understand what's going on. I offered him, after listening what he said to me, I offered him, why don't you take half days off? Take book Thursday, Friday off, half a day, and spend time where you need, where it's most needed at this point. Once all that is fixed, then you come back. This is my conversation with this person whose performance was being questioned by my client teams. I went back to my client teams and I said, well, listen, I had a conversation with him and I don't think he will be able to help you. He's not available 100% because there's something going on at a personal front that I cannot share the details about. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull in some other person on my team for half, and they're going to split the work in half and half. And that way, your work will not suffer. Your deliverables would still be delivered on time. Your issues will still be addressed on time, and there shouldn't be any issue. But this is how we're going to work for a month or two. Let me know if that's a concern. The client teams were happy that, okay, well, we have a new person who's going to be helping us out in addition to this existing person, and it worked out well. And you won't believe, after 2 months, once that problem was almost manageable, with my team member that was helping my client teams before, and he was back at work, he didn't need any half days off, and he was so motivated to get back to work and deliver that he became a golden example. And I'm not sugarcoating any of this. He became a golden example of how to work in the DevOps area, with client teams. And listen, I didn't discuss any performance issues with him. I didn't discuss any client feedback that I got from the client teams, nothing. Just a genuine connect with my guy to understand how I can help him, what he's going through, and have empathy and how I can help. So this is the power of empathy, and this is my first-hand experience that I thought I would share with you guys. I don't know if you've felt something similar, so I will open the floor, for my audience, if they have experienced anything similar, feel free to share.
I know I've experienced things that are similar. I won't belabor everybody with the details because I want to be very aware of time. People have families and so forth. But you're right. If you don't go in there with the blame game or be critical, but dig a little bit, create a safe space for people to be able to open up, then you can come up with the real solution that will bring long-term success.
Very true, Andrea. Very true. I didn't notice it's 8:23. I should wrap it up. Sorry. Okay. Well, before we move to the next slide, anyone else want to add to this conversation? Okay. So we're moving on to the next slide. So that is the power of empathy and emotional intelligence. This might sound like, oh, this is human behaviors, and I feel like, somebody's coaching me on how to behave with people. But this is like, this stuff really works, folks. That's all I can tell you. And that's my experience. That's been my experience so far. So I think, Andrea, you just mentioned that, it's important to address the problem, not at the surface, but go deep, dig deeper, and it should be you mentioned it should be a judgment-free, something like that. I forget.
Yeah, safe space, judgment-free zone.
Safe space. Yes, so true. So that is an example. So that is a trait of someone who's emotionally intelligent. They don't have the conversation for the sake of shifting blame, but it's a judgment-free conversation to understand what is really going on, to understand the other side rather than to understand from their perspective of what is happening. They would really like to step in. I think most said to step in others' shoes to understand the challenges that they're facing. That is how you practice. That is an example of someone exhibiting emotional intelligence. Some things that I've learned over the period of time is never assume or never tell people what to do or never impose your ideas. That's something I've learned. In fact, do the opposite. If there's clarity that is needed, or something is you think it's not really clear to me, it could go anywhere, just go ahead and ask, hey, tell me more about this stuff, or what did you mean when you said this, could you elaborate? So this way there is no confusion left. You will get the details, you will get the clarity that you need to understand the problem, to understand the situation, to understand the challenges that people are facing. Sorry. And like I said, emotionally intelligent people, they do not hesitate or they do not shy away from difficult conversations. If anything, they love difficult conversations, because to them, you know, disagreements or problems are just opportunities in disguise, because it helps you generate more options and find common ground. Another thing that I find that I've learned over the over my tenure as a product owner is that uh, there are times, how do you manage conflict when you ask somebody to do something and they say, well, this can't be done. uh, Now it becomes a sort of a power play game that, okay, well, I'm the PO, I'm telling you to do this, so you better do this. Or the technical person says like, hey man, I'm the person who's closer to the work, I have all the expertise, I'm telling you this cannot be done, so no, we can't do this. These are some conflict situations that are difficult to manage. But if you're an emotionally intelligent person, or if you have emotional intelligence, or you practice emotional intelligence, you will find that these conversations are your how should I say this? These conversations are the seeds, or they are key to exploring something so new, something to explore all the opportunities, I guess, or the things that will help you advance uh, ahead. Maybe you disagree and say, well, this person disagrees with me, and this is my side of things, this is how I feel. Do not hesitate to have that conversation. Oh, don't push your ideas, but at the same time, do present how you are viewing things, or from how are things looking from your perspective. Make sure that they understand it, and then you try to understand how are they looking at it from their perspective, instead of making it in a game of, no, I'm telling you to do stuff and he's not doing stuff, turning this problem to a people problem, rather than having a real judgment-free conversation to understand the true impediments, true challenges, and what can we do, what options can we generate to resolve those challenges. So those are some things that are examples, that are traits of a person who's emotionally intelligent, or when you practice emotional intelligence, that is what, that just becomes your second nature. And the instincts, you don't get mad if somebody says something stupid to you. Rather, you try to understand, why are they saying that to me, what's going on in their mind right now, and what can I do to number one, understand what's the problem, address the problem, and then what can I do to support this person, so that I can make them my friend, make them my ally, rather than having conflict or friction with them. So that's emotional intelligence, folks. Those are some of the examples, or traits of an emotionally intelligent person. Any questions at this point, guys?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I like how you kind of frame that, and in terms of PO and having those interactions with your DevOps teams and you're working with them. How you kind of frame it is good. What I find is being effective at times is I kind of frame the situation, and then I kind of let them kind of direct. So a few of the quotes that you have here, I would say something like, what are your thoughts? What do you suggest? Because they're coming at it from their professional standpoint, right? So you want to kind of give them the ball, but also guide them into where you want it to go. But you let them kind of steer, so they feel that they're the ones that are making the decision, not you guiding them to make the decision. But in you kind of are in some ways, though, right? But I think it's just give and take, that pull and push. But just the way that you've kind of framed the question, and I kind of like how you said that, but I just wanted to kind of share how I kind of
that's leadership. You're a good leader. That's what it says, because you're telling them your need, you're telling them the outcome that needs to be achieved, but letting them decide on how they're going to achieve that. So that's leadership. So that's fantastic. If you do that, that shows to me that you're an emotionally intelligent person, to a great extent.
I was before, though.
Any other comment from anyone? If not, then I'll move to our next slide, I think. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Right. So now that you've learned about emotional intelligence, the 5 pillars, and you've seen some examples, and I gave you some, the first-hand experience of how I used empathy and emotional intelligence to deal with some of the issues and situations with my Agile teams as a product owner, and I think you heard from Mo too. So that's how you use emotional intelligence at work, in strengthening your Agile teams. To make sure that they are performing at their peak, at their highest level. They are collaborating at the highest level. They're engaging within them, with the product owner or amongst themselves and with outside teams in the organization. They're fostering good relationship, with other teams outside the organization to help them achieve the goals that they want to achieve as a team. So that's how you leverage emotional intelligence within an Agile setup. And to continue building your EI skills, so emotional intelligence skills is, you just got to practice more, practice to get better at them. I am no expert, but I have learned a lot, and I thought it would be a great opportunity for me to share some of my experience of what I've learned. So this is what I do. Every year I learn something new, and then I bring back all that experience and the nuggets of wisdom and some theory to you guys to share so that you can learn from my experience. So these are some of the practices that if you continue, it will help you build up and improve your emotional intelligence skills, like practicing empathy, speaking honestly and directly, collaboration and participation rather than dictating to your teams, practicing humility, right? You got to be modest, you got to give opportunities to others to shine, push them forward in front of the spotlight, build teams, right? Don't be the person at the forefront to take credit for the work that your team has done. In fact, do the opposite. You're so confident and so good at the work that you do that you let your people shine. Building others and supporting others in their career is a sign of that you're an emotionally intelligent person. Supporting others, respecting others' opinions, self-control, self-awareness. So these are some of the things you could continue to practice to build your EA skills. And I'm a OG boy. Know that the